This is like a monkey humping a football. Let's just play
Season
it.
2 of the Pat and JT podcast.
Oh man, I'm here at last. The best time, always gonna be the best. Come on!
Exclusively on the Hurrdat Media Network.
Pat Stibbs in studio trying to get his
I see you got
headset
that.
on.
I see you got that new Mr. Rogers song as your opening. I love it. Wasn't that in A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood? I think that wasn't that Fred Rogers?
I think it was.
It's a deep cut.
Fred Rock and Roll Rogers.
Yeah. It was. Yeah.
It's a deep cut on the flip side.
It was. Yeah.
Yeah,
Back
the
up.
other- you know what? Funny, the
a
other
deep
day-
cut on the flip side.
The other day we have a new employee. You've met Nick.
Yeah.
Right? And Nick was on our podcast the other day, and in conversation, somehow a 45 got brought up. And he's looking, and he's
like, "Wait, what?
A gun?" It's like, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to tell you. Let me tell you a story.
Oh my God, he didn't know what a 45 was.
But in his defense, I can understand it. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, because you have no way to play him in the last 20 years,
Right.
unless you have one that you had in your closet. Of course, I think he became popular again in record players.
And he
Start
knew
seeing
what
them
a
come.
record was. He
knew
doesn't know what
it
a
was.
45 was. Like, if
Calling
you
it
say
a
what's a
45?
45, he had no clue. It's called a 45.
Right.
45, 33, 78. Even you weren't like 100%.
I didn't know. I wouldn't have been able to say. I knew what a 45 was, but the other ones I would have
Yeah.
had no idea.
So
I only knew what 45s were after I saw Dolly Parton.
Those 45?
Yeah.
45 double doubles?
Yes, I think so.
Boom.
Yeah. And by the way, Jill, I need to
Yes.
correct you, ma'am.
Please do.
It's not a record player; it's a turntable.
Whatever. It's a record player.
It plays records.
It
It's
plays
a
records.
turntable.
It's a turntable and it's fancy. Mine had Pluto on the lid. It's a record.
That's a record player.
It's a record player.
Anything with a character taped to the top is a record player.
Turn the record over, Jill.
That was my very first record player. That was, it had Pluto on it, so it's a record player, not a turntable.
Oh, my
but
gosh.
I appreciate that. My mom had a record player. There we go. The
She had a
console.
turntable.
She had a turntable. She had the console.
She had the
that you
console.
slide the lid open and
I remember
stack
those,
the records
yeah.
on, and then the records would just rotate through.
Those were
right?
beautiful.
It was, and had the AM/FM radio on the one side.
Weighed
Yeah.
a million pounds.
Oh, yeah.
When my grandparents finally got rid of theirs, it was getting it out. I think they had
Don't
to
you
cut
wish
it
you
in two
had
and
it?
take it out.
Do you not wish you had it?
Yeah. I mean,
I
from
wish
a-
I had mom's.
From a money
Oh.
standpoint, I would have sold the crap out of it.
I wonder where hers. I gotta write that down.
Especially because a lot of those were like mid-century modern pieces of furniture. I don't know if you're what you guys.
They were furniture.
Yeah, my mom, Barb Stibbs, who's probably listening to this too. Hi, Mom. She had a mid-century piece of furniture, and it was beautiful. And we got rid of it too when she sold her house. We just dumped it, and I'm like, what the hell
What was I thinking? Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, that and televisions were also furniture.
Yes.
They were
Yes.
the
And a million pounds. With the yes, right, furniture,
It was
legit.
Yeah.
floor. It sat on the floor. Huge piece of furniture.
and the small TVs had bubbles that made the
Yeah.
screen look bigger. It made things look bigger. You had one in the bedroom, I think,
I
Pat,
did.
didn't you, for the longest time?
Wait a minute.
Oh, sorry. Why did I go there? I mean, seriously. Why
Because that's what you do. Is your mom named Barb?
Yes.
Why do my mom's named Barb?
Really?
Why do all Barbs throw a pat?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
your
have to ask her.
siblings.
I have siblings, yeah. A
Named?
brother and a sister, Timothy and Noreen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm Mike.
Mike.
Timothy Michael, my...
Okay.
That's- okay. there
And my
you go.
brother's
Are
name
you-
is
are
Michael
you
Timothy.
Irish?
No,
I'm
it's
just
not.
kidding. It's Michael Anthony. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, Irish, kind of.
Interesting is my mom's maiden name is Safford.
That's so weird.
Stop it.
Who knew?
Stop it.
Are we related?
Wait a
Oh, my God. We're like stepbrothers. We're like that movie.
No, it's Pat, my other cousin Pat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh my God. Now, the reason you're here. Last time you were here, actually, you were here with Randy.
I was. Randy J. Goodwin came by, who was one of the producers on my movie The Call that had come out.
And it recently moved back to Omaha from California. And is he regretting that decision since it's negative 14 today?
Well, you know what? Everybody is still doing auditions via Zoom. So it didn't make any sense for him to be out there. However, you're right. When the weather's like this, he's probably thinking, what the
hell was I thinking?
That's when you start thinking, okay, the state's fiscal responsibilities and the weather. Do I really care that much about the money?
Yeah.
And
Weather.
I want the weather.
You want the weather.
Do I like? I mean, have a lot of freedoms here, but you don't want to go outside.
I know.
Because it's so freaking cold.
Yeah.
I know. And there is something about that. I mean, L.A. has a lot of problems. We know
Yeah.
that. But that weather out in California, you just can't beat it. You just can't
true.
beat it. So
It's
anyway,
true.
yeah. So Randy was the last time, and the
movie
so
did great.
The movie did fantastic. We were so excited. It opened in theaters on October 2nd.
Like
I can't remember the last time when I was here. If we talked about that. Was it before
the
that?
first of the year? Yeah, it was right that week. I think that it came out.
Yeah.
It probably was.
Yeah.
So it opened in like 350 theaters nationwide and drive-ins.
Yeah.
And
awesome.
then which was like the number one highest grossing per screen film in like 51 markets around the country. Yeah. And then
that's awesome.
Yeah, and then it went to
really
video
is.
on demand around Halloween.
Cool.
So
Perfect.
you got perfect timing. And then finally the DVD and Blu-ray, which is out now, came out on December 15th. Both DVD and Blu-ray. It came out in both editions.
Is it still on Amazon?
Still on Amazon, yeah. And a lot of the stores had it, and they keep selling out of it.
I understand, though. It's just a basic, good, scary movie.
Yeah, it's just a good. That's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to just be kind of an old-fashioned horror film, sort of a throwback to the 60s type of horror films. And that's really what I wanted to get the point across with
What
the
better
script.
way, too, for drive-ins? Do you think that drive-ins will come back?
Yes.
Considering everything right now, that's going to
Probably.
be the most feasible way for movies to get in front of people.
Because even when we have the vaccine, even when it's complete, I don't think the dynamics of film going have changed. Theaters are going to bounce back. I have no doubt about that.
They just got to reconfigure their seating.
Exactly. And but drive-ins are going to make a comeback, and they've already made a comeback. I mean, there's already, I believe I heard like 1,100 new drive-ins being built as we speak.
Oh my God.
That are going to be opening, and they were down to, drive-ins. We were down to only like 350 or 400 drive-ins around the country.
Is there still one here in this city?
There's a gentleman that's building one in Valley.
Okay.
That it did not open yet. However, I think they are anticipating that opening up this spring.
I can think of 3 growing up in the city. How many were there? Because I know you.
Oh, there were 7 or 8 that I remember.
Because I always think of the one like when you're on the interstate and when we were going to Westroads because they were coming to town.
You
from
could see
Ashland.
it.
And you could watch the movie up on the hill as you were driving around the corner. You could see what was up there. And then there
was that on 76th and West Dodge? Is that, or you're
No,
talking about the
I was
Skyview
on-
drive-in?
Skyview.
Oh no.
I was not Skyview. I was coming in the
Golden
interstate.
Spike
No, there was Golden Spike was one.
was 114th and Dodge.
Yes, Golden Spike is one.
Skyview was on 72nd
Farther
Street, heading
south.
north.
Farther south as you're coming into on the interstate.
Oh, the Q Twin. The
Q-Twin.
The Q
That's
Twin.
It. It's in on that road. I don't know.
Q Twin
120th?
drive-in. There were Q Twin East and Q Twin West. They had 2 screens.
Wow, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so drive-ins
That's
were
awesome.
big, man.
I hope they do come back because that's.
I think you're going to see them come back. I really do. And I'm so glad. The reason they went away, quite frankly, it's because the land that they sat on was too valuable. And if you're in Nebraska, you can only operate between, say, April and October. Right. And
pay taxes on it the rest of the year.
Exactly, and the land was just too darn valuable, so they sold the land.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Yeah, and on Nebraska, it's kind of tough to go when it's snowing out. I do remember a couple kids that froze to deth at the drive-in. They went to see closed for the winter.
Stop it.
I'll never forget that. That was terrible.
Every time you do
Waiting.
every time you do that, I bite, and I get kicked in the seeds.
You're such a
happened.
good little carp, aren't you?
It is. I am. What's that? Dang it.
Oh, you got me
So,
again.
yeah.
God dang it. You can't.
So
believe
yeah,
it.
I was
Well,
very.
okay. So looking back on this, you're through the whole run of the call. Everything's out on DVD, Blu-ray, everything. Did it go how you expected it to go? Better, worse,
yeah, the only thing. No, I think it went.
or like well, you dreamed about this for 20 years?
I
Like,
did.
are you looking back and saying, "Man, this is exactly how I was dreaming about it the entire time."
Yeah, pretty much.
Really? That's cool.
The only thing that, and it doesn't necessarily bother me, but I've seen the film now 5 or 6 times. And I'm very critical of it. So every time I watch it, I see things that I necessarily didn't write. I mean, because they did add some things and they changed some things around. I think we talked about that before. When you sell the script, they can kind of do whatever they want. And I think Timothy Woodward Jr., the director, just did a fantastic job. I mean, he did. The look of this thing is great. But there were some changes made that, I thought were good. And then some other changes I'm like, yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah.
And so, in fact, Randy and I just had this discussion during an interview that we did for a radio station where he said, I would love to see the version that you first wrote.
Yeah.
The first, because it has changed. Like, oh my gosh.
Seriously, you know what? You think about so many movies that get a remake. What would be really fun is instead of a remake would be to do the original.
Right.
Just to see, because you have some movies where they have different endings and they change the ending and you can go back and see what the other ending was.
Right.
I'd be really interested to see if they had done it just as you had written it and then next to the
Right.
changes that were made. They'd probably be two completely different movies in feel.
Oh, definitely.
But it would
Definitely.
be interesting.
Yeah, and I, and again, the ending of the call was different than the ending I wrote.
Right? You
But
said that. That's right.
Yeah, but that was done, and I understand why Timothy did that. That was done to more set it up for a sequel, because not that the original ending couldn't be done as a sequel. Anything can be a sequel.
Exactly.
But I understand why he did that. But again, I look back now, and some of the things I agree with, and some I don't. But it doesn't bother me really. I mean, because I realize that's just part of the process.
That's what it is, yeah.
It's what it is. And but I was very, very happy with the whole experience, the outcome. It was really cool going out and meeting the crew, because I was there literally almost a year ago. This past January, my son Chris and I went out and watched the filming, and it was just very, very cool to see how, literally
something you
100 people,
created, making something that you created. That's pretty awesome.
And meeting actors, that you created their characters, and so it's kind of a weird feeling, you know.
What was the woman's name that was the lead? Shay?
Lynn Shay.
Lynn Shay. I've seen her in about, I swear, it's just kind of like once you see a red truck, that's all you see is red trucks, right? So after I saw that movie, her name just kept popping up.
She's everywhere.
And she is. And so
Yeah.
anytime I see a movie with her in it, I'm going to watch it.
Yeah,
And
and-
I've never been disappointed so far.
No, and the thing is, even though she's known, we discussed this before, even though she's known as the horror queen, the comedies that she's done. She's a brilliant comedian.
There's a horror film that she did that is funnier than shit. And she is very good. She pulls it off. It's meant to be campy.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the name of it for the life of me, but
The Sound of Music?
Nah, that wasn't it.
That was hilarious.
It's very much like it. But it was just like, I just watched it because her name popped up, and I was like, "Oh, okay, whatever. Let's see."
Well, I had to go back and watch There's Something About Mary, because her role in that is just utterly
That's
brilliant.
right.
The neighbor, the tan.
The shocking exposed tan saggy boobs.
Yes.
It was one of those like, holy cow.
And I know I had to have told you this story, but the biggest pleasure of meeting her was I was at her house, and she was giving me a tour of her house, and she says to me, "Hey, Pat, do you want to see my tits?" And she takes me into the bedroom, and in the bedroom on the wall is the frame prosthetic device that she wore in the movie.
That's awesome.
Signed by the Farrelly brothers,
That's awesome.
the directors. And I'm like, oh, man, that's so
That's
sweet.
so sweet.
Wouldn't you love to have something like that? I mean, talk about a prop to hang on to.
I want to bring back the movie Kingpin. I don't know if you ever saw the movie
Yes,
Kingpin. 'Cause
hilarious.
She was in that. And
didn't
she
know
played
that.
this grungy landlady that wanted to trade sex for rent.
Kingpin's a great movie.
Kingpin is so funny. And I would love to bring that back again and have a promotion here in town at West Lane's Bolatorium.
Yes.
And because Mike, the owner, and I have discussed this, that we want to bring that movie back. And we would have, except COVID hit. And even Lynn was open to doing something.
That would
and
just be
someday
fun.
that would be fun. And I wanted
Yes.
I wanted to come in to Omaha, but I wanted to come dressed as that character. I don't want to. Lynn's a beautiful woman, but I want the scrungy landlady.
Yeah.
So no, she
Scrunchy landlady.
she was a pleasure. Tobin Bell was a
Yep.
pleasure. So no, I'm very happy with everything. I can't say enough about how ecstatic I was about the whole thing.
So now here you said you get this one all done and it's sitting in a good place. You're getting ready to do it again.
I am. And so all I can say about it right now is, so back in years after I wrote The Call, I wrote a film called Ghost in the Graveyard, and it's a kid's horror film. And people go, "What? Kids horror film?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's a kid's horror film. I mean, it doesn't have a bunch of bloody violence or killing, not that. But think about when we were growing up. We were kids. We watched scary shows like the original
Creature
Twilight Zone,
Feature.
Creature Feature. We loved to get the crap scared out of us when we were young.
Did we?
Creature
Of course
Devil.
we
I'm a
did.
pansy. I didn't.
Oh, yes, you did.
I didn't like scary movies.
Are you kidding me?
I would stay up late. I love the old movies, like the
Yeah.
original with no soundtrack. Like the what am I trying to say?
The Birds?
Dracula.
Oh,
Birds.
well, that didn't have a soundtrack.
It didn't?
No, there was no music
I'm
in The
going
Birds.
back farther.
Oh,
I like
even
those,
farther.
The black and white.
Like Dracula.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Frankenstein, Dracula, all those, because the tension of no soundtrack, because the soundtrack subconsciously tells you what to do.
Right.
When you're listening to it, don't even realize, oh, you're supposed to be scared. Oh, you're supposed to look over here. But without the soundtrack, you're just sitting there, the apprehension of waiting to see what's going to happen next. And then the words mean so much more.
Yeah.
It's
but
crazy.
it's funny that I mentioned The Birds. It's true, because after Hitchcock did Psycho,
Yeah.
And, Psycho was known for its music, right? The shower scene, the Bernard Herrmann, yeet, yeet, yeet. So he's making the birds, and he says to Universal Studios, they said, now, who are you going to have Bernard Herrmann do the score? And he goes, no, I'm not having any music in the birds. And they're like, what are you talking about? They're like,
which makes perfect sense.
He's like, there's going to be no music at all in the birds. And Universal Studios freaked out. And they said, there's never been a movie in the history of movies that did not have. And he goes, he wanted the sound effects of the birds to be
the soundtrack.
The soundtrack.
Yeah, that's smart.
And they fought him on it. And and he basically threatened to walk. And they finally gave in to Hitch's demand. Yeah. So when you watch the birds, there's not one piece of music. All the scary tension, all the scenes is completely silent until you hear the birds go, you hear So what's interesting is Bernard Herrmann, the composer, is given a credit. He choreographed the sound of the birds. He did. I'm not kidding.
Okay, that's cool.
All that had to be. And we couldn't be just random.
Yeah. So anyway, Ghost in the Graveyard. So I don't know if you're familiar with the kids game. So my kids would play this game, and it's basically Ghost in the Graveyard is a game of tag. So you'd have a kid like
I remember playing that.
You remember playing that? You'd have a kid that would count to like 50 or whatever, and then in the front yard, and then the other kids would go to the backyard and they'd hide, right? Mm-hmm. So then the kid got done counting, and the kid would have to go find the kids that were hiding, and then as soon as he found a kid, they'd scream, "Ghost in the Graveyard!" And then you had to make it back to base. And then the last person that didn't make it was now the ghost.
It was now the ghost.
So my kids played this when they were little. Mm-hmm. And then one day, my son Chris was about 11 years old. We're driving in the car. And he says to me, "Hey, Dad, you know that game that we play Ghost in the Graveyard?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, what do you think would happen if kids actually played that game in a real cemetery?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. What do you think would happen?" He goes, "Well," and here's this 11-year-old mind thinking, Mm-hmm. And he says, "Well, I think if they were playing, like, say if they were playing in the cemetery, then they happen to meet like the ghosts of these two dead kids,
Ooh,
and like they were a brother and a sister." And he goes, "They're nice ghosts. They're not mean or evil, but they're ghosts, and so they meet these ghosts, but they don't know how they died. So they want the human kids to figure out how they died. They have to solve the mystery of how they died."
Did you almost drive off the road? You're like, this is a great idea.
So, and I'm like, huh. And then I said, okay, I go, "Did you see this on a TV show or movie?" He goes, "No, my friend."
Something?
He said, "No, my friend Sarah and I were talking about it, and we kind of came up with this idea." So right away, I called my entertainment lawyer. I said, "Andy, I got to run this by you." And he's like, "Wow, do you have a script?" And I said, "No." He goes, "Well, I can set up a meeting literally next week. I'm going to be meeting with." He was meeting with a guy named Howard Kazanjian, who was one of the producers of Raiders of the Lost Ark. He was having lunch with him and a guy named Dwayne Dunham, who had done like 7 Disney Channel films, including Halloween Town, which was a great little scary film. So this is like the perfect,
Timing's everything, man.
But this was on a Thursday, and his lunch was on a Tuesday, and I had no script. So he goes, "If you can get a script done by next week and come out and meet us, we can pitch this to him."
Oh, my God.
So I literally got up on Saturday morning at 6 a.m., and I wrote Ghost in the Graveyard in 17 hours.
Oh, my God.
Jeez.
And was that like the call? How long did it take
Well,
you to
the
write
call
the
was longer because I wrote that only I was working at Sweet 98 at the time I wrote the call. So I was working during the day, and then I would wait for like Monica and the kids to go to bed, and then I would write.
Right.
So I was writing this thing like at 9 or 10 p.m. at night till about 3 or 4 in the morning.
Okay.
So this took me a little bit longer to write, because I didn't write it all at once. But I had no choice with Ghost. I had to write this thing, Ghost in the Graveyard. So I wrote it in
you didn't have the opportunity to overthink yourself.
No.
To outthink to change things. It was like whatever came up,
right.
You had to use.
So here's what happened. So the plot I just described to you. Mm-hmm. So I was writing that, and I got to like page about 17, which is about 17 minutes into the movie, because each page is about a minute, right? And I just drew a blank. It's like I had...
Where do I go?
Where do I go? So I literally sat there at my computer, I'm not kidding, for probably 20, 25 minutes just going...
I need to go wake your kid up.
Right. Like, dude, you got me here.
You son of a bitch, get over here!
Call Sarah!
Cliffhanger my behind. Get out here.
Get Sarah's ass over here, too.
So I'm sitting here going, oh, man, maybe... And I was halfway tempted at that point to call Andy and say, hey, man, I can't do this, But then I thought, no, this is stupid. I got this all. So here's what I did. I know this sounds really strange. I got really shit-faced. No, I didn't do that. I sat there, at 9 in the morning. Yeah. So I sat there, and all of a sudden I envisioned myself, instead of writing this thing, I envisioned myself sitting in a movie theater with my popcorn, and I'm watching this on the screen. And I started thinking, not as a writer, I started thinking as a viewer, and what do I want to see come up next?
Ooh, that's a good idea.
That's all. And then all of a sudden, it just like,
It took you there.
I just started writing.
Wow.
And I remember an old director, I met, John Milius, who's done tons of Hollywood films. He told me one time, he goes, about every 3 pages of your script should have some sort of conflict to keep whether it's major conflict, minor conflict, just have some sort of conflict that will keep people wanting to read. Because people can get bored reading a script, especially early on, if it doesn't catch their attention right away. The more conflict you have, the more attention you can keep. So keeping that in mind, I just wrote it, and I spent the next day, I rewrote it read it and read it to people, and kind of did a live reading with family and friends on that Sunday, and then literally went to Kinko's on Monday and printed off 5 copies. It was on a plane Tuesday morning.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And now unfortunately, that did not go anywhere, only because at the time, this was about 2007, Disney was all about High School Musical. I mean, that was like every Disney executive, all they wanted to see were musicals.
Isn't it just the way it goes? If something hits that somehow checks a box with a bunch of people, every network and every studio does the same thing.
Yeah.
So everything else put on the back
Copycats.
burner.
Exactly.
Let's all do our version. Yeah.
Yep, that's why you'd always see like 2 volcano movies come out, or 2
Yes.
body switching movies. I mean, it's like everybody just copies.
Oh, what is it? Like American Idol and America's Got Talent.
Yeah, The Voice
and The
all
Voice.
that.
And it's just one after another.
Yeah. So anyway, even though that didn't materialize, now I had my script. And so after the call got made and sold, then I thought, okay, I really got to get back to working on Ghost in the Graveyard.
Iron's hot, man. Yeah.
And that really helped by getting this film.
So how much did you change now that you had time to actually breathe and go back and look at the script? Did you change anything from the original one?
A little bit. I made it a musical. No.
Zac Efron is great.
With Dolly Parton.
Yeah, with Dolly Parton. Yeah. Ghost with a double G, by the way, with Dolly Parton. Anyway.
Good Ghost.
I'll keep you abreast of how that goes, by the way.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Her milkshake brings all the boys to the graveyard.
Oh, there we go.
That's your tagline.
Get Rihanna to do that.
Have
theme song.
have the kids meet this hot ghost.
Oh, my God.
And that could be your tagline. Her milkshake brings all the boys to the graveyard.
It's a trap.
I'm telling you.
my God.
Why does Randy keep going to the graveyard every single night?
Every single night.
He comes back with a smile and he's super relaxed. He's in a great mood.
Oh, my God. I just changed the whole trajectory.
That's right.
Why didn't I talk to you earlier, Pat?
I mean, come on.
I could have had this thing sold 10
We'll
years
save it for
ago.
the sequel.
Easily.
Telling you.
Yeah, there you go. That's right.
So all I can say about Ghost in the Graveyard is now that the call's been made, we've actually got a director that's attached. We have a showrunner attached. We have I have an agent that's working with me to also kind of act as one of the producers because he's done a lot of films. So, obviously.
Do you have anybody actors-wise?
Not yet.
Do you have anybody in mind that you wish or you hope, any like your hope?
Well,
wish list, I guess I would say, yeah.
You don't have
to
character.
reveal who.
No. The character. Originally, I had as Chris. It was a young boy and his friends. Now I'm going to have it be a girl, and I'm going to name that character Kathleen after my daughter, Kathleen. I already named one after Chris. I don't want my daughter to sue me.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
And so it's going to be really the main character now will be like a 12-year-old girl and her friends. Mm-hmm. And, there are a lot of young actresses that are, like, did you ever see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Did you see that movie?
I haven't seen that yet, no.
There's a young actress in there that plays opposite of Leonardo DiCaprio. I don't remember her name, but she's flippin' brilliant. I mean, she's just brilliant. So names like that, the girl that was just in News of the World with Tom Hanks, she's really hot right now property-wise. And now these people may be almost, because they're popular, they may be tough to get.
Right.
It just depends on how much money they want. Because, the girl that was in News of the World with Tom Hanks, and again, her name was Hannah something, her price probably went up 5 times after that movie came out. So sometimes it's about getting actors or actresses that are just on the cusp of being big. And like Chester Rushing, who was one of the kids in the call, the main kid, who plays Chris, his career is now just starting to really, really take off. He was in Stranger Things, and now he's got another series coming out. And
So is this? It's going to be made? Is it a done deal?
I hope it is. I don't want to say done deal because, there she is. What's her name?
Helena
Zengel. Helena Zengel. She was in News of the World. I don't know if you've
12.
You've seen Tom Hanks movie. She has very little dialogue. She had to learn English, by the way, to make this movie.
Oh, geez.
She's flipping brilliant. I mean, how does you just think of these young kids, how do they become so good on screen? And she's brilliant. So, again, somebody like that is who you want to kind of go after. Mm-hmm. But no, Pat, I don't want to say it's a done deal yet because, until you have a signed contract and a check's in your hand, nothing's ever a done deal. But what we've done now is we're packaging this thing to make it very, very attractive to
this
a studio.
Helps having the call in your back pocket.
The call, without a doubt,
helps
without a doubt. I mean, without the call getting made, I don't even know if I'd have this going right now with Ghost.
Yeah.
So my goal is obviously to get that film done, and then I'm writing a couple other films. I'm actually writing a faith-based film. Mm-hmm. I've always said that the kids horror genre is underserved, right? There's another genre. We know about faith-based films.
Yeah.
Faith-based horror films.
There you go.
Is another genre that is under. And I'm not talking about movies just about the devil, versus, not that kind of, because that's an easy cop out. I'm going to write a horror film that's faith-based, so I'll have the devil in it. I don't want to do that. But I'm writing a script now called God Told Me, and it's kind of like if Rod Serling of The Twilight Zone would have written a faith-based film. So it's got that eerie creepiness to it, but it's not a horror film.
So when you talk about kids horror films, is that what Scream filled for when I was like 22, 23 when that came out? Is that kids, or are you talking even younger?
No, younger. Because Scream was not written for kids. Scream was an R-rated film that was written for teenagers and adults,
because you're recalling movies all the way through it. I mean,
exactly.
It's got I pulled up faith-based horror films literally as a search. I did not know that. The Exorcist, Carrie, Constantine, End of Days, The Wicker Man is on here as well. Religious, and then it falls into the religious horror.
See, and
films.
I think
that's where you
there's
cross
a difference.
The line.
Yeah, see,
you want the faith-based.
Faith-based films focus on scripture and focus on God more than. The Exorcist.
Yeah.
The Exorcist is just a horror film that's got religious overtones.
Religious horror film.
Exactly.
You're talking about ones that literally are faith-based.
Yeah, but most faith-based films until recently, quite frankly, they're kind of boring. I mean, I've seen a ton of them.
They won't go far enough.
And they just were cheaply made. And now all of the studios have faith-based divisions of their companies, and they're making these films that are just as good creatively as a regular Hollywood movie.
What was that very first movie that Tom Cruise was in? It wasn't Willow. It was something along
Taps.
No,
he was in Taps.
That wasn't the movie I was thinking. It was kind of like Willow.
Did you say not Willow? I'm like, that's
not.
I love Willow. Was he in Willow?
He wasn't in Willow. Val Kilmer was in Willow.
Yeah, it was like that though, kind of like that.
It was a horror film.
It was it had the devil in it. You made me think of that.
Did Willow have the devil in it? Willow had a whole bunch of dwarfs in it, I thought.
What's Jill been drinking?
I don't know.
God,
Let's put that coffee away.
What's in that coffee cup?
Legend.
Oh, Legend.
That's what I was saying. He was in the forest. Jack is who he played.
Oh, okay.
And he was in the forest, and there we go. Here it is. I found it.
You know that movie that Tom Cruise was in? Not Sound of Music, but wait, what?
But like it. Kind of.
Oh, my God.
Sort of.
There's a zillion movies that have been made, but it's not Willow.
No, it's
I
not.
know that. Let me run through them alphabetically.
Sure it's not Willow. It's not Nell either. It's not Nell or Willow.
Let's start with A. All that jazz. Anaconda.
And it had little munchkins in it, too.
Did it?
Yes.
Okay.
I remember Legend.
Remember that? Legend?
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, seriously.
I have not seen it.
You should see it.
But it was or wasn't a horror film?
It is.
It is a horror film.
Yes, but it's fantasy.
Okay.
But it's a horror film, but there is an element of religion to it. There's
I see
good
what you mean.
versus evil.
We all tied it back in there some way.
There is literally a devil character that's in it. And he has to rescue a
dwarf devil?
There's a unicorn.
Full-size devil.
There's a unicorn. That's where I said it's some fantasy. It's in a magical forest, and then it's got good versus evil, and it's got the munchkins, and one of them literally was one of the munchkins. That's why I call him that.
Really?
It was the last living munchkin.
Oh,
from Wizard of Oz.
from the
was
Wizard
in
of
it.
Oz, yeah.
He was in that as well.
Okay.
Who, by the way, were a
Screw
bunch.
you all make fun of me.
By the way, those
Somebody get there.
those Munchkins were all a bunch of drunks. I don't know if you've heard this. Have you heard those stories?
I've heard
Oh
stories,
my
yeah.
God! I mean, they knew how to party.
Yeah.
They
Oh, yeah.
knew how to frickin' party.
Heck
You know,
yeah,
when
they
they
did.
got drunk, they were 10 feet tall. That's all there is to it.
And on that note, we're going to call it a day.
Yes, we're gonna call. So
Well, keep us. Let
I
us
will keep
keep us
you
in the
posted.
loop.
I
Keep
will.
us in the loop.
It's we're literally some things are happening, and like I said, I want to be able to talk more about it, but contractually you just can't.
I know. That's okay,
And
but
so-
you can at least just kind of plant a seed, and now it's on everybody's radar a little bit, and we'll have more. We'll have you back, definitely.
Well, next
Yes.
time you come, bring Randy. We need to have a black guy on the podcast.
I
They
know.
haven't
He
had-
always
I haven't
tells
had a
us
black
that.
guy on.
I know we haven't had a black guy on, and come on, Randy. I did invite him, but
know.
he hates white people. So
Right.
I,
So
We've
that's-
noticed that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have noticed that.
So
that's,
Randy-
that's all about him.
standoffish when
Yeah,
he's in here.
so rude all the time.
Nah, Randy's such a great guy. His film, The Job, speaking of faith-based films,
Yeah.
is doing very well. It looks like he's got some stuff going with and again, it's stuff I can't talk about, but that's going to be a lot of things happening for him that are good. And
Good.
so yeah, he says he gives you his love.
He's such a good guy. That's good.
Yeah,
I'm
he's
glad
a
to
good
see.
dude.
I'm glad that he got to come back to Omaha with his family and everything else, and that things are still moving forward. That's
Exactly.
awesome.
He's such a great guy, and he is sorry that he stole your coffee pot when he was here, so he will bring that back.
Perfect. That's
Yeah,
great.
bring it back, Randy.
That's actually the name of this podcast. Is bring it
Bring it
back,
back,
Randy.
Randy.
There it is. Pat, you're the man. Thanks.
Hey, thank you both.
you.
You got it. We appreciate it. Text us 402-403-9478. Randy, if you're listening, text us. We want to have you back. It's Pat and JT on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Thanks for listening.
Pat and JT Podcast, a Hurrdat Media Production.